My name is Vanessa Martinez, and I will be doing my presentation on foreign policy and homeland security. Here are some of the agencies responsible for foreign and defense policy. The United States Department of Defense is part of the executive branch, and it provides military forces needed to deter war and protect the security of the United States. The Central Intelligence Agency, or CIA, was created in 1947 and is an independent agency responsible for providing national security intelligence to senior U.S. policymakers. And the Department of Homeland Security was created through an executive agency reorganization in the aftermath of the 2001 terrorist attack. Some of the post-war era activities include the Marshall Plan, which was named after Secretary of State George Marshall. The Marshall Plan was a U.S.-sponsored program designed to rehabilitate the economies of 17 Western and Southern European countries after the defeat of Nazi Germany. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization was created in 1949 when the United States and 11 other Western nations formed NATO. When the U.S. Secretary of State put his signature on the North Atlantic Treaty, it reflected an important change in American foreign policy. And the Cold War, which was a rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union, which lasted for decades. The Cold War was waged on political, economic, and propaganda fronts and had limited recourse to weapons. Next is the United Nations and globalization. The United Nations was created in 1945 when the United States and 50 other nations gathered in San Francisco to sign a charter document. The UN promotes development and giving humanitarian assistance to those in need. The World Bank was created in 1945 and is one of the world's largest sources of funding and knowledge for developing countries. The World Trade Organization was created in 1995 and is the only global international organization dealing with the rules of trade between nations. And lastly, the UN Security Council is responsible for maintaining international peace and security. On this slide, we talk about military buildup and nuclear weapons. For military spending, spending declined somewhat after World War II, but remained high during the 1950s and 60s. By 2015, the budget for military spending was $598.5 billion, or 54% of all federal spending. For the defense budget, the budget is $716 billion. There is 2.15 million service members and 732,079 civilians, which makes it America's largest employer, and they are located in 164 countries on all 7 continents. For the costly weapons system, in 2009, Congress looked into the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter. The Defense Department estimates the cost for developing, testing, and building the F-35 fighter will cost $400 billion. For nuclear weapons, assumption is a strike by one nation would likely be followed by an equal strike by the other. And lastly, for nuclear proliferation, is the spread of nuclear weapons technology, or material to countries that do not already possess them. Next is the intelligence agencies and the war on Iraq. For the National Security Agency, They are a key member of the intelligence community. The agency collects, processes, and disseminates intelligent information from foreign electronic signals for national foreign intelligence and counterintelligence purposes. For the Intelligence Reform and Terrorism Prevention Act of 2004, it is the most extensive reorganization of the intelligence community since World War II. The act focused on establishing a new management structure to coordinate and oversee all of the agencies. Next is foreign aid. For economic and military assistance, one of the most recognizable aspects of the U.S. foreign policy is economic and military assistance to other nations or foreign aid. The foreign aid assistance serves the nation's strategic, economic, and moral interests, and foreign assistance is given to other countries to support global peace, security, development efforts, and provide humanitarian relief during times of crisis. In 2018, over $12 billion has been spent in foreign assistance, and $27.7 billion is planned for fiscal year 2019. For Homeland Security, the Department of Homeland Security is responsible for dealing with natural disasters, protecting the nation's borders, handling immigration services, managing transportation at airports, directing movement of international trade across U.S. borders and waterways. The Secret Service is also now a part of the Department of Homeland Security. Here are some references if you're interested. Thank you for watching my presentation.